Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. President Thompson, ministers, ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, a very good morning to all of you. I would like to welcome you all to the IEA's second Global Conference on Energy Efficiency. We are very happy that so many distinguished guests travel around the world and join us today. In this room, we have more than 50 countries, including all G20 countries, as well as other countries, and we are very happy with that. And at the same time, you should all know that this conference will be live broadcasted around the world. This interest in energy efficiency makes us very happy, as we believe that it's a reflection of many decision makers putting energy efficiency at the center of their energy and environmental policies. Ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me, just a few minutes, I would like to talk to you briefly about IEA and our work on energy efficiency. I took office some 18 months ago as the head of the IEA, and by that time, my colleagues and myself decided to have a modernization strategy of the IEA. Many of you may well know that we are an organization of 42 years old, but we thought it is now the time to modernize the IEA. We are, as many of you again know, an important organization, I guess, for energy security. But in addition to that, we thought when we modernize our agency, there are two important pillars that I wanted to share with you that we are working on. The first one is we have 29 member countries as of 2015, US, Canada, all European countries, Japan, Australia, Korea, and New Zealand. And we thought, when we look at our numbers, what is happening in the energy world? The dynamics are also beyond the borders of these countries. So we have decided to open the doors of the IEA to emerging world. And in 18 months of time, we have 6 associate member countries joining the IEA: China, India, Indonesia, Singapore, Morocco, they are now, and Thailand, they are now part of the IEA family. As such, ladies and gentlemen, IEA now covers over 70% IEA family of global energy consumption. In addition to that, we are working with the Mexican government very hard, and we made very good progress. And our plan is this November to have Mexico as the 30th member of the International Energy Agency, another very important country in Latin America. So this is the first pillar of the IEA, to open the doors to emerging world. Not, as I say, we don't want to be a rich man's energy club. We want to be the truly international organization, and we made major steps in that direction. The other important pillar of our modernization effort that I wanted to share with you is following. IEA, as you may know, we have a pole position in terms of oil, gas, coal, electricity, nuclear, all these traditional technologies. But we thought it is now the time to make the IEA also a clean energy hub. Some of you may know a clean energy ministerial formed by many countries around this table, which was hosted by the US Department of Energy, looks at different clean energy technologies, and those countries, many of them are G20 members, decided that IEA hosts the Clean Energy Ministerial, and as of January this year, we are hosting the Clean Energy Ministerial at the IEA. We are very happy with that. And we had an excellent meeting last month in Beijing, hosted by China. We push some of you may not know, but we have about 40 advanced technology collaboration programs, ranging from electric cars to clean energy, clean coal technologies, from clean coal to biogas, from biogas to different building efficiency and others, putting 6,000 worldwide technology experts under the umbrella. We gave a big boost to that. And together with those, we wanted to make the IEA, in addition to conventional technologies, a hub for clean energy technologies. And we believe it is very important to tell everybody that we are an organization which looks all the fuels, no discrimination, all the fuels, and tell the governments, industry, and others what are the implications of this, what are the implications of that. In the context of our modernization, we also believe that energy efficiency is a critical part of our being a clean energy hub. Why energy efficiency? Why we are putting, as I will tell you in a minute, so much emphasis on energy efficiency? Very simple. We believe, first of all, energy is a very good thing. Energy is sometimes confused with some implications on environment and so on. They are there, definitely. But energy, in fact, makes our lives better, much more comfortable, and boosts economic growth. But we have to know which energy to choose, how to use it, and how much to use it. Therefore, when we look at the challenges we have in front of us today, environmental challenges, economic growth, and energy security, there is one policy option which helps to achieve all these policy goals: economic growth, energy security, and environmental protection, which is energy efficiency. And therefore, we believe energy efficiency is a critical policy option for all the countries across the world, developed or developing countries. My colleagues tell me that thanks to the energy efficiency efforts across the world in the last 15 years, world saved energy as much as the European Union uses today, as a result of efficiency standards for cars, for refrigerators, for industry, and so on. It is very, very important. We keep the money in the pocket, good for energy security, and good for the environment. Yet, there is a big challenge. When we look at the global energy use today in the world, only 30% of that energy is subject to efficiency standards. 70% of the energy use has no efficiency standards, tells us the World Energy Outlook. There is a huge room for improvement. I can give you one example. It may be important, especially for Patrick Pouyanné to note in the oil, because it has implications for the oil markets. Trucks, it's a report that we just finished and going to release it on Monday in Brussels. Trucks are responsible today 40% of the global oil demand growth, trucks alone. Yet, there are only 4 countries in the world, only 4 countries, who have efficiency standards for trucks. Rest of the world, no standards for fuel efficiency for trucks. Yet it is a major driver of oil demand, and emission growth. So these are the areas that we are looking at the IEA, and we think, therefore, efficiency is very, very important. So what do we do on efficiency, and how do we place the energy efficiency at the heart of the global energy agenda? First, we have built a very strong energy efficiency division in the IEA, independent with lots of strong resources. My colleague Brian Motherway is the head of it, and working very, very hard, and since in 1.5 years they made many achievements. We built the Energy Efficiency Industry Advisory Board. They met yesterday, several companies working on energy efficiency. We are getting advice to them. In general, in the IEA, we are an intergovernmental organization, but we believe very much working closely and learning from with the energy industry. Therefore, we have an industry advisory board. We also believe that the energy efficiency cannot be looked in isolation in the other parts of the energy system. We have to look at the energy system as a whole. For example, another very important option we have to address our environmental challenges, renewable energy. If renewable energy and energy efficiency policies are not designed well, sometimes energy efficiency policies may have undesired implications for renewable energy, and vice versa, some renewable energy support policies may create some challenges for the energy efficiency policy. So we are working how to optimize these two policies, putting together as part of the IEA work. Another part of the work we are doing at the IEA, which I am very proud of in the context of energy efficiency, is capacity building, training. It is a type of work we are putting a lot of resources, but never catches the headlines of the newspapers. But it's a very important one. This year, only this year, ladies and gentlemen, we are giving capacity training to 500 mid-level policymakers from emerging countries, more than 70 countries. People come here, Paris, we tell them what the practices are in terms of implementation, in terms of the monitoring, in terms of impact assessment. People who have experience on that share this on a day-to-day basis with their colleagues. 500 people we have done this year, and not only in Paris, we are going to do one in Singapore for the Asian participants. We are going to do one in Rio de Janeiro for Americas, and also Georgia for the Caspian region. So this is a work, as I said, it is not a very flashy work, but I believe it's a very important work, capacity training, just going to the bottom of the issue. Now, as I said, we are taking this very seriously, and just wanted to give some examples. I would like to finish my words by announcing you a new initiative we have today. This is we believe IEA has to be, at least I believe so, central bank of energy efficiency. And as such, the importance of global exchange is very clear. We are creating a major new tool to map and measure energy efficiency policies around the world, creating a unique, comprehensive global resource. We call it Global Exchange Hub for Energy Efficiency, and we believe it will be an essential resource for policymakers to learn what policies are being applied around the world in different countries, what impact they are having, real impact assessment, and what lessons to be learned about their design and implementation. It will be an online exchange platform for everybody, open, transparent. Different countries, what policies introduced, industry sector, for motors, for cars, for trucks, for refrigerators, for lights. What are the impacts of that policies? And what are the lessons learned? Everybody will see, and it will be online. It will be at the service of the global energy community, especially those who work on energy efficiency. And this will be a unique global resource, I believe, and we are working on that. We just wanted to announce it to you today. We will be integrating this during our ministerial meeting in November in Paris. Let me finish my words by telling you that having so many excellent, distinguished speakers around the world, several business leaders, several countries and people watching us, we believe this is another important juncture, milestone for our work on energy efficiency. And we would like to work with you throughout the years all together to put the energy efficiency as the first fuel in the global energy agenda. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much again for coming to IEM. Thank you. Now, I would like to start the meeting with a very, very special speaker. I am honored that our conference is being opened by the President of the United Nations General Assembly, His Excellency Peter Thompson. I had the privilege of meeting the President a few months ago, and I was very impressed with his dedication to this very topic. It is the very reason why I am delighted that he accepted my invitation to open this important conference. His Excellency, please. Thank you very much.
Well, distinguished ministers and executive director and excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I think I'm in Paris. I just stepped off the plane from New York and I'm getting back on it to go back to New York straight after this meeting. But it's lovely to be here in Paris with you all. And I really want to thank IEA for inviting me to make this opening address to you all today. It gives me a chance to tell you about some of our key messages from the General Assembly on this subject. The focus that you have for the conference on delivery is particularly timely. We're asking ourselves today, how can countries move quickly to implement better energy efficiency policies to bring social, economic, and environmental benefits to their citizens? Considering climate change alone, the importance of finding effective answers to that question has become an existential one for our species upon this planet. I'll get rid of these funny-looking things in front of me. So we're called upon to bring focused attention to practical ways for the international community to work to improve energy efficiency. I'm confident that we possess the opportunity at this juncture of history to unlock a green energy revolution that will drive climate action and achieve environmental sustainability. I'm also confident that we possess the ability to drive innovation and action at the scale necessary to achieve universal energy security. These are goals that have eluded us for far too long, and it's time for concerted action by us all. I was reminded of that by the 1.5-hour traffic jam coming into Paris this morning from Orly. Across our world, nearly 1.1 billion people still do not have access to electricity, and even more do not have energy security. Many of those people live in sub-Saharan Africa, where the confluence of recurrent conflict, natural disasters, and a lack of affordable and uninterrupted energy coalesce to dramatically inhibit economic growth and sustainable development. At the same time, fossil fuels still account for over 80% of the CO2 emissions, and global temperatures are rising to new heights every year. Achieving universal access to clean, sustainable, and affordable energy is thus not only an existential imperative, it is a major opportunity, a driver of green economic growth, sustainable development, and climate action for the future. Indeed, if we're to succeed in implementing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Agreement on climate change, it is clear that we must leverage the transformative potential of sustainable energy to combat the adverse effects of climate change and achieve universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy services by 2030. We must do so in conformity with our universal commitment to Sustainable Development Goal number 7. I emphasize the universality of that commitment. Ladies and gentlemen, in order for the international community to drive progress at the speed and scale necessary to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 7, a number of critical and complementary steps must be taken that will not only transform the global energy system, but will have a multiplier effect in helping to meet all other SDGs as well, both within national borders and across the world. And this begins with raising the level of our ambition by setting national energy efficiency targets. Secondly, we must establish policy and regulatory frameworks across industries that will mobilize the collective action needed to achieve these targets and drive the sustainable energy transformation. This includes by developing integrated energy plans that feed into the nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement, and by sending clear energy price signals to the market that will create an enabling investment climate. Thirdly, we must build strategic and innovative partnerships that bring together governments at all levels, with civil society, financial institutions, the private sector, the academic and scientific communities, to drive inclusive and coordinated action for sustainable energy and development. This includes encouraging local governments and private companies to set corporate energy efficiency goals, to purchase renewable and clean energy, and to pursue advances across the energy sector that can help drive SDG action. Fourthly, we must work to mobilize the estimated $770 billion needed annually until 2030 to drive the transition to renewable energy and achieve SDG 7. We have to build global understanding of the massive business opportunities presented by the Sustainable Development Goals. These opportunities are potentially worth trillions of dollars by 2030, particularly in the energy and infrastructure sectors. The key lies in mobilizing the necessary investments from public, private, blended, and alternative sources to fill the gaps in the financial supply chain for sustainable energy, and to effectively meet internationally agreed climate goals. We must also take advantage of the current window of opportunity that exists to direct investments towards sustainable energy infrastructure as a result of the historically low interest rates and the large pools of capital assets in low-yield investments. Some call these patient funds, others call them lazy funds. Fifthly, we must look at opportunities to both harness and drive the rapid advances in innovation and disruptive technology. These can allow countries and businesses to leapfrog high-carbon models, put downward pressure on energy pricing, spur green economic growth, and drive the sustainable energy transformation. And finally, we must take the positive efforts and successful initiatives being implemented within our national borders to countries across the world to help close the energy access gap and achieve SDG 7. Coming from a small island developing state like Fiji, the importance of the clean energy revolution could not be clearer to me. Also clear is that we must meet the need for human and institutional capacity building to support this revolution. For many small island developing states, access to affordable energy remains a major constraint to sustainable economic growth and development. Most SIDS are still dependent on imported fossil fuels for electricity, despite the existential threat that climate change poses to their homes. and despite SIDS being rich in renewable energy sources, particularly solar, water, wind, and geothermal. Properly harnessed, these renewable sources can meet the majority of these countries' agricultural, industrial, and household needs, while also decreasing electricity costs and creating decent jobs. However, to unlock this potential, international support is required to enable developing countries to transition their energy systems. This includes through capacity building and technical expertise for renewable energy policies and projects, and by nations meeting their official development assistance and climate action commitments. Ladies and gentlemen, in all of this, of course, political leadership is vital. That's why a gathering such as this global conference on energy efficiency, bringing together such a broad range of stakeholders, is so vital. By providing a platform for the exchange of ideas and building of collaborative models, this global conference on energy efficiency can be one of the most important moments in catalyzing of transformative action to drive the energy revolution. So more power to you. I wish to acknowledge the leadership and the commitment of the International Energy Agency and its members. You are core to the implementation of practical measures to achieve universal energy security, thereby doing your part in the advancement of the Sustainable Development Goals and the ambitious targets set in the Paris Agreement on climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, improving the efficiency of global energy use is a critical component in global efforts to create a future for our world characterized by sustainability of peace and prosperity and development. Through a global commitment to achieving this single policy priority, our way of life on this planet can be transformed for the better. By achieving energy security for all, we can help to end hunger, overcome poverty, improve access to education, and strengthen health and well-being outcomes for all. By improving energy efficiency, we can combat climate change, create jobs, and foster sustainable and inclusive economic growth. And by driving a green energy revolution, we can deliver cross-cutting implementation of all 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals. Setting humanity firmly on the path towards a sustainable future is not an easy undertaking. But make no mistake about it, if we're going to provide our grandchildren with a secure place on this planet, we must faithfully implement the Paris Climate Agreement and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Global Conference on Energy Efficiency is an important milepost along the way to that sustainable world. Therefore, I wish you well in your deliberations, and much depends on their success. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Your remarks on energy, climate change, access to energy, they are all very much appreciated, very comprehensive, but at the same time very, very clear. Your encouraging words about the IEA work will make us even work harder. Thank you very much for that, Your Excellency. Now, we are going to make a small change in our agenda, and with the permission of the ministers here, I would like to ask Mr. Patrick Pouyanné, the CEO of Total, to take the floor, as he has a pressing agenda. As you all know, Total is one of the leading energy companies in the world, and Mr. Pouyanné is also pushing the clean energy agenda and energy security strongly as the leader of Total and one of the leaders of the energy industry. Mr. Pouyanné, please.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear Fatih Birol, first of all, thank you to welcome me here for this Global Energy Efficiency Conference, which is very important in Paris. I will be the voice of the energy industry today, so I will try to do my best to introduce your debate. And I think, you know, for an energy company like Total, energy efficiency, there are two good words. Energy on one side, efficiency on the other side, because the core goal of a company like Total, of course, is to be efficient. I would so always that the themes of your conference, which is delivery, is also rings a bell, quite a strong bell, to a world company like Total. Before coming into details about what an energy company like Total can do in terms of energy efficiency for own operations and for customers, I would just comment first the outlook, and probably Fatih Birol will be quite happy reinforcing its message that really, if we want to address the challenges we have in the world, energy and climate challenges, energy efficiency is at the core of all this strategy. Our industry, energy industry, is facing two big challenges. On one side, we must meet the world's growing need for energy. An energy which should be reliable and affordable. Affordable is mean cheap, to speak frankly, because, as it was said by Fatih, the population will grow from 7 billion people today in the world, out of which 1.3 billion people do not have access to energy, to 9 billion people in 25 years. And all these people, of course, aspire to better living standards and access to energy, being able to deliver to them affordable, reliable energy is indeed a prerequisite to foster social and economic developments. That's the first challenge. The second one is to combine this need for energy with the climate challenge that the planet is facing, which means that we want also to deliver cleaner or clean energy. So affordable, reliable, clean energy are the three important words. Energy efficiency is really crucial if we want to reach these targets. I like this sentence from IEA, which is energy efficiency is the only resource possessed by all countries. That's true. That's very true. And in Total, we have decided to take into account in all our strategy the IEA scenarios and to take the 2-degree scenarios, even the beyond 2-degree scenarios. And the first thing which strikes us when we look to these scenarios is that today the world primary demand for energy is around 280 million barrels per oil equivalent per day. If we want to be on the 2-degree scenario, the primary energy demand should be not much in 25 years, but around 300 million barrels of oil per day, which is almost the same. Having on one side 5.5 billion people having access to energy, and I hope 9 billion in 25 years. That's a huge challenge, which means that we need to decouple the GDP growth on one side and the energy demand on the other side. That will not happen without a huge effort of energy efficiency. If we look to the NDCs which were given by the countries, this demand would be at 400 million barrels of equivalent per day, not 300. Why? So we need this decoupling is one thing on which we do not insist enough. And I like, again, the way that Fatih Birol is explaining what should be the strategy, the global strategy. Energy efficiency for around the third, renewables for around the third, and then energy mix evolution, switching coal to gas, in particular, for the last third. But we should not forget the first one, which is energy efficiency. It's why I think this initiative to have this global energy efficiency conference, second one here this year from IEA, is very important. So to do that, of course, all stakeholders have to participate to the effort. The customers, the energy companies, and I will come back on that, and the states. The states, and you are right again, Fatih, have two big instruments if they want to drive our investments and our societies towards a frugal energy society, I would say. First, standards. You are right. Minimum energy performance standards is a good instrument if you want to drive the demand. And it is true that only 30% of the consumption today, energy consumption, is covered by energy standards. The second instrument which you have in your hand, potentially, is what I call carbon pricing. Economic instruments, in order to drive the investors in the right direction. Implementing a carbon pricing in any form is, from our point of view, imperative for engaging the transition to a low-carbon economy. We don't need to speak about a very high price. At $30 per ton, it's enough to encourage switching the energy mix and to steer investments toward low-carbon technologies, including greater energy efficiency. Implementing carbon pricing mechanism around the world appears more crucial in the current low energy price environment that undermines returns on energy efficiency investments. This is the reason why our company joined last week the Climate Leadership Council in the US, where a broad coalition of top companies, opinion leaders, and environmental organizations support the introduction of a carbon tax in the US. So let's come back to what an energy company can do in terms of energy efficiency. I would say first a strong conviction, which is not at all straightforward. It is neither self-defeating nor counterproductive for an energy company to call for energy savings. It was not obvious, this sentence 20 years ago, to be honest, to ask to our people or marketers that, no, we can be more efficient even if our customers and our products if we sell less volumes. Because there are opportunities behind this challenge, and we want to take advantage of them. Of course, we work on improving energy efficiency in our own operations, but also for the products and services we offer to our customers. First, about our own operations. We set ourselves a target which is to improve our own energy efficiency by 1% per year from 2010 to 2020. I think, by the way, this target will be renewed permanently, because in an energy company, not only we produce energy, but we consume a lot of energy to produce that energy. It's like a shadow company, in fact. And each percentage of energy I can save is, I can tell you, improve my profits. And that's a direct thing, so 1%. We have managed, in fact, to make a little more than 1%. Since 2010, by the end of 2016, we were around 8 to 9% of energy savings in our operations. To do that, we have established, and I will come back again on the session, an internal pricing of CO2 at $30 per ton to incentivize everybody in the company to make the right calculations. And when we want to make an energy savings investments, to take into account that one day or the other we will pay, if we don't pay it, such a level of CO2 pricing. And I can tell you it's quite efficient to justify some investments. We have also set some targets to our various business lines, in particular to our exploration and production division, in order to stop the routine flaring in our operations. We didn't stop it today still. We don't decide anymore any projects with any routine flaring, gas flaring, because it's a loss of energy, by the way. But we will manage to reduce our gas flaring by 80% between 2010 and 2020. We are already around 65%. And we are committed to stop completely gas flaring by 2030. And we are part of the Climate and Clean Air Coalition of the United Nations to track and reduce methane emissions, which in our case are less than 0.5% of our gas productions, and also to the World Bank Global Gas Flaring Reduction Partnership. This is an example of the way we can move forward. Another example to be more energy efficient is we have decided, as we are also a solar company, to use solar power at our own sites. We have embarked the company in a solarization program, and 4,000 service stations of Total will produce their energy for solar before the end of the decade. It reduces carbon emissions. It's also cuts of power. It's also reduce our energy bill with using renewable energy and demonstrating that it works. The second axis is to provide to customers better products and services. We have established in our company a sort of branding we called Eco Solutions, which outperforms the market standards in terms of environmental and health impacts and energy efficiency. For example, we have a fuel called Excellium, which keeps engines cleaner, longer, improving their energy efficiency, and to answer to fatty B-roll, which, compared to a standard fuel, reduce the energy saving for a truck by more than 4%. It's same for lubricants, or Quartz Ineos lubricants cut energy use by over 2% compared to standard products. Services is also important. We are developing, not only for ourselves, but for customers. We offer services and solutions that include energy audits, assistance to certification, energy certification management system, management of energy efficiency investment projects, implementation of smart energy systems to monitor and reduce consumption. So we are becoming, in this field, a service company in the field of energy efficiency. And in France in particular, the regulation about energy saving certificates helped us to establish this type of services, to develop it not only again for Total, but for our customers. And we facilitated energy renovations in more than 40,000 homes with an average efficiency gains of more than 40%. So these are actions that an energy company can do, and again, it's a way to develop our own business and to be more efficient for the future. I would also, of course, say a word about R&D, which is an innovation. I think it will be part of your debates. It's, of course, an area where R&D will play a prominent role. And we continue, despite, by the way, the oil price decrease, to increase our R&D budget and in many areas. And I would like to say also a word of partnering in international initiatives, because there is there a multiplier effect. And I think IA is promoting also this type of initiative. We are today, Total is a founding member of the Oil and Gas Climate Initiative, or GCI, which puts together 10 of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. We represent more than 20% of the production, the 10 of us, and with the aim to reduce emissions due to the hydrocarbon use. We have set up a $1 billion fund at the end of last year in order to support R&D projects and startup activities in 3 areas, and we decide the 3 key areas where we will invest is development of CCUS technologies, managing and reducing methane emissions, and last but not least, improving energy efficiency in industry and transportation. So these are our objectives and our action plans to become what we want to be, a responsible energy major. Being committed to better energy means being more efficient. We are implementing efficiency improvements for ourselves, for our customers, while constantly seeking further gains. Energy efficiency is indeed our ally if you want to grow responsibly. And again, as IA rightly says, energy efficiency is the only energy resource possessed by all countries. And everyone, states, companies, individuals, consumers, must embrace this topic and make additional efforts wherever possible. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I think what I told you before Mr. Pione spoke has been confirmed. He's an energy industry leader with a vision, but also action. examples that he gave in his own company in Total in terms of efficiency, but also the reduction of methane emissions, which is also a very important action, are exemplary. Thank you very much for that. Now, we are moving to a country which is also an exemplary country in the region, United Arab Emirates, a country which has abundant hydrocarbon resources, one of the largest oil exporters in the world, yet putting a lot of efforts in order to diversify its economy, energy mix by promoting renewable energy, energy efficiency, and with very smart policies. And we are very fortunate that the man who is leading those efforts, His Excellency Suhail Al-Mazroui, the Minister of United Arab Emirates, is with us. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, coming here, and we are looking forward to listening to you. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to address this audience on a very important subject. To us in the United Arab Emirates, energy efficiency is the only way that we can survive as a humankind. And it's the only way that we can afford to supply energy to the future expansion of the human race. Without it, it will be very difficult. The resources that we have one day will be short to supply all of us. That's why for us to address energy efficiency or energy at all, it needs to be a leadership decision and a long-term commitment. We worked for the past 3 years on delivering an energy strategy for the United Arab Emirates that can address this question. What can we do by 2050? What energy sources we need to have? And what behavior we need to change? And the result of that was a balanced strategy where fossil fuel is going to be moved from almost 100% in the past years to 50%. And 50% is going to be from renewable or green sources that does not emit CO2. For that to happen as well, we need to cut consumption per capita by around 40% by 2050. And we need to reduce CO2 emission by almost 70%. And remember, UAE is considered a green energy country when it comes to fossil fuel. We are only using natural gas. So, for that to happen, without energy efficiency focus, it's going to be an impossible task. Therefore, we started from several initiatives that we will continue doing. One of them is investments on policy and equipment changes and addressing several sectors in our economy. So, as you know, it's very hot in the Arabia, especially these days, where the temperature is more than 45 degrees. So what do we use there? We use air conditioning. So we need to incentivize the reduction of or optimizing the energy efficiency when it comes to cooling. So district cooling and the new technologies in cooling is what we need to invest in the future. So this is one of the areas that we are keen to invest in and change the behavior. Second, we need to talk, like Dr. Fatih said, Transportation is also an area where we don't have an efficiency, we don't have an efficiency standard or standard for trucks to reduce the emission and reduce the energy efficiency. But we need to work with manufacturers worldwide to address this challenge. And I think the message have got to the major industrial producers of heavy trucks. They are working to improve the efficiency of the engines to reduce the energy consumption. In the United Arab Emirates, we are trying to promote the use of electrical vehicles through having stations or charging stations available in so many locations, in convenient locations, and investing on the fast charging stations rather than just the conventional stations. And we are promoting the use of these cars by government, and we have signed with several government bodies that they start having a percentage of their fleet using EV cars. The other thing that we need to change is the codes of buildings. We need to have a more efficient and eco-friendly buildings. But buildings alone will not solve the equation. We need to work on the human capital. We need to work on changing the perception of energy. Affordability does not mean you can consume as much as you can. So this is something that we are keen as well to address through schools. And we started as an Ministry of Energy to embed in the curriculum for the young children how to use energy and how to become efficient in their consumption. There are many, in our analysis, many low-hanging fruits in the system today in our region. Some of those goes to the generation. Unfortunately, if you go and look at the gas turbines, and if we just focus on the gas turbines for a minute, if you look at the average efficiency of a turbine, you will find them at 40% or even lower, or maybe 35%. Where we have today a technology of more than 60% efficiency in the generation. So what does that mean? It means more efficiency in burning gas, so you will need less gas to produce electricity, or the same gas to produce more. And that's what we need to be able to address the energy requirements in the future. So this is an area that we are focusing our efforts to try to modernize our fleet of turbines toward the higher efficiency turbines. And believe me, a very simple calculation will tell you that a replacement does make sense today. You don't need to wait 10 years for a turbine that is producing at an efficiency of 35 to 40%. There is an economical rationale, like Patrick said, for companies. It's very easy calculation. So we are seeing that the industry is moving toward more efficiency quicker than countries. And I think the segregation of duties sometimes does not help. Who's responsible for energy efficiency? Is it the Ministry of Finance, or is it the Ministry of Energy? Sometimes, or is it the ministry, in case of those countries who are separating energy to electricity and natural resources? So in the United Arab Emirates, the leadership have asked us to work very hard on this plan of conversion, a plan of balancing our energy sources, and a plan to increase the efficiency, reduce the cost. Where are the issues? The issues, as we know, in many countries, sometimes comes in the form of subsidy. So if you subsidize one form of energy over the other, even if it's renewable, I don't think that is the healthy situation. I think we need to remove all kinds of subsidy from the energy. And today, with the technology that we have, I think the renewable energy can compete on its own, and it can become the natural choice and the economical choice as well. We have seen it, and I think the people, it's the choice of the people as well. But alone will not do it. So we need to have that diversity of all different forms of energy in order for us to achieve the highest in the energy efficiency. So codes of building is very important. Addressing the people choices is very important. Transportation sector and the conversion is very important. And in the industrial sector, I think Total have addressed that how does the industry sees the efficiency improvement. I think to them it's a natural choice, and we need to help them to go and convert as soon as possible. In the United Arab Emirates, we have came up with a short-term, a medium-term, and a long-term KPIs for us to achieve this 40% reduction on demand and 70% reduction in CO2 emissions. So it's not just a talk. There are KPI, there is a stick, and there is a carrot. So the stick is the minister leaves his job, you bring someone else if he does not deliver. And we are serious about that. And it's not only the minister, it's everyone in the different sectors. The government, the leadership is very keen on delivering on the plan, and we think it's a survival mode. So it's needed. It's not a luxury of choice. We will not be able to address the energy requirement without having a very structured plan of that transition. Of course, our strategy that we developed, we worked with so many countries, and we looked at their experience, and we benefited from that engagement. That's why I would like to thank the International Energy Agency and Dr. Fatih for their proactive approach of bringing all of us together and addressing those important energy issues and enablers for us to move forward. I think it's a great platform, and we are engaging with them, and we would hope that any learnings that we capture, we pass it through the agency. I think it's any learnings that we can share with you or take from you is going to be essential. One of those platforms is the agency, and I'm sure there are other platforms. In OPIC, we are trying also to be proactive. We are working with the agency and with the others to improve the efficiency as well in the oil-producing countries and any other organization that we join. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Dear colleagues, we heard an oil-rich country and the plans and the actions to transform it to a very efficient and clean energy country in the Gulf. And I am very, very happy that Mr. Minister, who is pushing this agenda very strongly in this country, but also in the region and in the world, were able to share his views with us. Mr. Minister mentioned a lot of very important things, but I want to pick up one thing that he highlighted, the building codes. It sometimes goes unnoticed, but the building codes, building efficiency is critical, as His Excellency mentioned. today, according to our Energy Technology Perspectives report, 2 out of 3 buildings built today in the world, there are no building codes. They are just built as they are. And when you build a building, it will be with you on average 60, 70 years. You are locking in an inefficient part of the global energy consumption. Therefore, I fully agree Mr. Minister's words, how important it is to have meaningful building codes. And it's an area that the IEA is very active in all countries. Now, at this stage, I understand that Mr. Pionet has to excuse us a few minutes, and therefore, please feel free, Patrick, to go and reduce the methane emissions for us. Thank you very much.
I will listen to His Excellencies.
Thank you very much. Okay. So then I am moving to another model country. The President of the United Nations General Assembly highlighted the issue that today 1.1 billion people have no access to electricity. It's a major problem. And there are 2 areas here, the Southeast Asia, and Sub-Saharan Africa. And within the Africa, there is one country which made huge efforts, first of all, to bring electricity to its people, and now also try to modernize the energy system, making it much more efficient, much more balanced in terms of energy mix, diversify the energy mix, and pushing especially the solar technology, renewable energy sources. And this is Morocco, and we are very happy that Minister Aziz Rabbah accepted our invitation and came here today. In fact, he was yesterday. I had the honor to be with Mr. Minister yesterday, where Mr. Minister and myself signed a 3-year work program with Morocco as one of our associate member country on different fronts, data, statistics, the energy efficiency and renewables, where we are going to work very closely with Morocco. Mr. Minister, we are looking forward to hear your vision and your action. Thank you very much, sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Vous allez être obligé d'utiliser vos toolkit pour la traduction.
I must say that it is a great pleasure for me to be able to take part in this very interesting conference with you, so as to be able to present the Moroccan experience to you, and so as to be able to share some of the ideas and challenges that concern us. I must say that we're very happy to be a new association member of IEA. We are the first country in the African continent to become an association member. And I know that you have very demanding standards. And I'd like to start by presenting, in fact, our work. You know that we accept to be an excellence center for the African countries, excellence centers like you have in other parts of the world. We are very happy to be an excellence center on energy efficiency, everything you might be interested in doing with regards to the African countries. As you probably know, our country is undergoing an extraordinary evolution in many areas. We have launched many policies and strategies and programs varying from agriculture to industry, tourism, education, arts and crafts, and all of this with the objective of achieving an extraordinary evolution. We are undertaking reforms as well. We have reformed our regulatory framework as well to move in the direction whereby we will be able to open the market to the private sector, establish partnerships with European countries, African countries, etc. So all of this is something that has been launched by His Majesty the King. I'm sure you all know that His Majesty has received the Visionary Award recently lead the Energy Efficiency Visionary Award. You know, we have launched ambitions to have co-programs with public and private partners. When we talk about the Moroccan strategy in the field of energy, you need to know that it's a very determined strategy. The objective, obviously, is to secure energy supply for the local market. We have an enormous demand for energy. We have an industrial development underway, and we have to have accessible, affordable energy. We also want to give all Moroccans access to electricity. 96% of the population has access. In the rural world, we still have a few pockets here and there. In the mountains, for example, in very isolated areas where we need to work on. But we want to give 100% access to basic energy, to electricity. But the population needed other means as well. You need to electrify homes, of course, but then you have all of the other economic developments underway in the rural world, which has led us to offer advanced services in terms of electricity supplied to the rural world. I have had a great deal of experience with you, and we want to work with you to go together to work in African countries that need to develop these basic services for the rural world, for landlocked areas. You know that one of the objectives, of course, is to have access to energy and electricity at the least cost possible. You know, we are not a producing country, we are consumers. And consequently, we have to work to give access to energy and electricity at the lowest cost possible. You need to know, in fact, that our electricity bill today is 5 billion euros annually, and 80% is imported. You need to know that almost all of our energy is imported, even some of our electricity. We spend some 5 billion euros in hard currency to buy our energy. So you can see that we are in a highly delicate situation, and this is why we are so ambitious to improve that energy position, first of all, so as to reduce our energy bill and the cost in hard currency, of course, and also so as to be able to develop the country. Morocco is not a rich country. Thank God we have some resources, of course, but we do not have, that energy. We work and are well integrated with our European neighbors. We are connected with Spain. We're going to triple that connection. We are looking at a possibility of having a connection with Portugal. You know, at Marrakesh during the COP22 meeting, we worked to see how we could have connections with other European countries, but also African countries. So we have a true ambitious program with Nigeria to have a gas pipeline between Morocco and Nigeria. So we want to be connected with everyone within the framework of our energy policy. And this so as to be able to be part of that international platform, but also so as to be able to supply our local market and perhaps in the midterm to become an exporter of energy. You can see we are very ambitious. And within all of these projects, we are fully in line with the international policy of sustainable development. And thank God, His Majesty has adopted, in fact, the strategic development goals so that Morocco be part, in fact, of this international program to achieve the SDGs. Now, from the energy point of view and energy efficiency is concerned, already we have made the step forward to have an energy mix. We import fuel, we import coal, but the fact that we've decided to move towards renewable energy sources is already a possibility of more efficient energy. The use of clean green, renewable energy will enable us to have an energy mix which by 2020 we want to have 42% in fact of these renewable sources by 2020, and by 2030 we would like to have a 50-50 mix, especially using the traditional energy sources, but also more particularly energy and wind, solar and wind power. So you see, this is an evolution that we need to prepare for. As far as energy efficiency is concerned, we want to reduce our energy bill by 5% by 2020, and we want to reduce that energy bill by 20% by 2030. A very ambitious objective, of course. You know that the transport sector is a very important player here. You know that 30% is the construction, 21 industry, and the rest is public lighting, for example. So we've identified four major sectors: transportation, construction, industry, and agriculture, because you know that in agriculture we use conventional energy sources like bottled gas, because you know we have a major program which we call Green Morocco, which aims at mechanizing agriculture, which has as a consequence increased consumption in the agricultural sector. Because in fact we are going from traditional agriculture to a more modern agro-food approach to agriculture. We want to reduce our energy bill so as to preserve the environment and respect our international commitments. We also want to reduce our independence on outside energy. We want to reduce our energy dependence, of course, by 2020, and we want to also increase our energy efficiency in the industrial sector. So I have clearly heard, in fact, the president here. We are, in fact, looking at the production of services, energy services, which will enable the developing countries to develop industry, to create jobs around energy efficiency. You know, we have what we call the ESCOs. These are the energy service companies which are expert in the area and which can offer their services to the industrial sector, agriculture, etc. So our attempt is not just to reduce the energy bill, but we want to also enrich the economy, create jobs, create added value. We have also we also have a law on energy efficiency, and this is something that is presently being adapted with the finance ministry, etc. You know, we need, in fact, fiscal incentives as well. You know, our friends at the finance department, when we start talking about taxes, you know, they start getting worried. So we are creating contracts with different departments, and this with the help of an agency specialized in energy efficiency. You know that the energy sector in Morocco is a complete program. You have the ministry, which defines policies and laws. Then we have the Moroccan agency for energy efficiency, which is responsible for the promotion of energy efficiency, creating greater awareness of this. We have a society for investments in the energy sector, and we have the electricity board, which produces, transports, and distributes electricity. We are preparing a transition in the production whereby the generation of electricity would be privatized. We would be responsible for the transmission, the transport of electricity, because this is a risky business. And we want to reform the distribution system so as to ensure that it be able to maintain the financial equilibrium while promoting the development of renewable energy sources. We are adapting new standards for construction. We are going to penalize the bad consumers, which is normal. You have to empower people. You have to penalize those who have a bad approach to energy consumption. They should be penalized, and they should pay their energy at a higher price. Mr. Director General, I have a few suggestions. First of all, in the field of energy, there's a real technological revolution underway. The developing countries, more particularly the African countries, need to choose the right technology, as I said yesterday. They should not opt for high technology. I'm in favor of the right technology. What is the appropriate technology for the developing countries? We have photovoltaic systems, thermal energy. We have different types of energy. You know that the energy technology is not just expensive. It's not just expensive in terms of acquisition, but also from the operational point of view in terms of deployment. So throughout the duration of the use of the technology, when we look at African countries where you have storms, sand, etc., I think that one of the major challenges that needs to be looked at within the agency is what is the right technology to be adopted by developing countries, knowing that these countries very often do not have a lot of money, and so they have money that they need to spend on technology. Secondly, in the field of energy, if we look at the speed of information today, we need to have information at the right time. A report that is published 6 months later can become obsolete when it is published in the field of energy. So I think that for you, that's a major challenge. It's a major challenge for those countries which want to develop a technical watch, for example. So how can we develop that technical watch, enabling us to have the right information at the right time? The new technology emerging, standards which are changing, regulations which are changing, new business models, etc. I think we need to be very adventurous in this area. Thirdly, developing countries need to have their share in terms of research and development. And here I'm referring to what the European Union is doing. You have that neighbor policy, whereby in terms of investments, you are encouraging companies to invest in certain neighboring countries. There is expertise in Africa, in Morocco, and maybe we could have our institutions, our universities, working with you so as to develop an international framework of research and development in the field of energy, and more particularly in the field of renewable energy. Now, you know that today we have the electricity distributors who make a little money. Sometimes it's the state. So the question is, how can we keep the financial equilibrium for the distributors while encouraging self-generation of electricity? The fact that you have households producing energy is going to reduce the income of distributors. Sometimes we have contracts with these distributors, and so how can we achieve a certain balance between the development of clean energy, self-generation, that exists at certain levels, as well as the equilibrium of the distributors? You know that there are very different variables in the energy equation, and it is a challenge that we must take up. In Morocco, we compensate, in fact, for the bottled gas. We've eliminated compensation for fuel. This was a politically courageous decision. It was the end to the compensation, I think, for the subsidization, in fact. We cannot do this for the bottled gas, in fact. This costs us us $1 billion a year. This is the equivalent of an airport and a railroad line. It is the equivalent of 4 university hospitals. So how can we encourage the use of renewable energy, especially for cooking, so that we can have an end to that compensation for bottled gas, in fact. Thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen. These were just some ideas I wanted to share with you here.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Dear colleagues, you all heard the ambitions and the vision of Mr. Minister. As I said, we have a 3-year work program. We will be very, very happy to support the Mr. Minister and the Moroccan government to reach those objectives, to learn from their experiences and to share with the other countries. This will be a great pleasure. Mr. Minister mentioned especially the issue of the right technology. I wanted to tell you once again, ladies and gentlemen, that at the IEA, we have the same arm length to all technologies, all fuels, and we look at all of them and tell the governments, industry, academia, if you go this way, these are the examples, these are the results. If you go this way, these are the results. We do not want to favor one over another. So with this, I would like to move to Europe, a country which pushed the sustainable development agenda very strongly since years, and we are very fortunate to have the Minister of Ireland, Mr. Denis Norton, who will tell us the energy efficiency from the Irish perspective. Your Excellency.
President of the UN General Assembly, fellow ministers, Director General of the IEA. First of all, I would like to thank the IEA for inviting me to speak here today. Dr. Beryl continues to show excellent and far-sighted leadership in placing energy efficiency at the top of the IEA agenda. Brian Motherway has brought together a fascinating range of issues and speakers, which draws on the wealth of experience he has of making low-carbon transition a reality. I'm delighted to see how he has continued to make this vital contribution at international level. I'm the first minister in Ireland, and I believe the only one in Europe to have cabinet responsibility for energy, environment, climate and the digital economy. This gives me a unique perspective on these cross-cutting issues and very integrated issues. Integrated, I hear you ask, environment and digital. I think the intersection between digital and energy provides us with vast opportunities to drive energy efficiency to a level never contemplated before. It's all now about the Internet of Things, connecting everyday items to the Internet, kettles and cookers. Today, 5 billion items are connected to the Internet, but by 2020, that figure is expected to be 50 billion items. That's over 600 new items that will be connected to the Internet every second between now and 2020. This provides us with the potential to manage energy in a very different way, and not just to turn off heat and electricity remotely. It's about using smart energy, reducing emissions and protecting our environment. To exploit this potential, we in Ireland are rolling out high-speed broadband to urban and rural homes at a rate of 1 premises every minute of every working day. I'm also Ireland's First Minister for Climate Change. For me, energy efficiency and climate change are inextricably linked. Using less energy and using it more efficiently is the most cost-effective and accessible way to tackle climate change. The IEA has captured it perfectly with its simple message: the cheapest and the cleanest energy is that which you don't use. This is a high-level goal and it's great, but this conference title asks, how do we do this quickly and how do we benefit citizens, real people with real lives and real concerns? For me, as a practicing politician who has to physically knock on doors to hold on to my job every 5 years, these real people must come first. So how do we make energy efficiency real to people in communities around the globe? For us in Ireland, it's about making homes more comfortable to live in and making people in those homes healthier. Working with the Department of Health, we have developed a deep retrofit programme using energy efficiency to help people with long-term respiratory health problems who are also at risk of energy poverty. There's now a lot of international evidence that living in cold, damp, poorly ventilated houses is linked to chronic health conditions, particularly in older people and young people. This is made worse when people cannot afford the energy that they need to heat their homes properly. We selected such a scheme in Ireland because 49% of our population over the age of 50 have at least one chronic medical disease. Chronic disease accounts for 40% of admissions to hospital and 75% of bed days in our hospitals. Also in Ireland, 1 in 5 children suffer from asthma. The Warmth and Wellbeing Pilot Scheme brings together a comprehensive energy efficiency and structural upgrades to about 1,500 homes by the end of next year at a cost of €20 million. Alongside this, the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine is undertaking research to gather firm evidence of the positive impact of energy efficiency on health and on well-being of individual people. We also want to see if we can measure a reduction in their need for health services and improvements in social outcomes, such as educational performance. With works now underway on about 400 homes, we're hearing some extraordinary stories about how living in warmer, more energy-efficient homes with cleaner air is changing lives. We're hearing about people who had become isolated in homes. They couldn't afford to heat and who never made contact with their local health services, who are now getting the care that they need, are starting to get back into their own communities. Improving the energy efficiency of homes of these people is not just giving them a level of comfort that they have never known, nor just reducing their energy bills. It has been the catalyst for real improvements in their quality of life. That is what energy efficiency is about. It's about making a real difference for real people. So what does this tell us about how we need to make the case for energy efficiency? There are 3 points that I'd like to make. Firstly, energy efficiency is not just an energy issue, and that is a real challenge for energy policy makers. Many in the energy sphere are so comfortable in their own energy silo. Energy, I believe, is an enabler of economic activity and social well-being. The message from the Warmth and Wellbeing Scheme isn't about using less energy or the technologies that enable energy efficiency. It's about using better energy to improve health and social inclusion. If we motivate people to act on energy efficiency, we must speak to their priorities: better health and social inclusion outcomes, the competitiveness of business, or the cost-effectiveness of our public services. Energy efficiency is a means to an end and not an end in itself. And that is why I'm so pleased to see the establishment this year of a new behavioural economic unit in our Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland. By making small policy or fiscal changes, we can have a disproportionate impact on people's actions. Back in 2002, such a behavioural economic model was used by my department to introduce the first plastic bag tax in the world. This has dramatically reduced our historic consumption of 1.2 billion shopping bags annually. The establishment of this unit builds on the excellent work of the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland that it's doing with the IEA as a partner on the Demand Side Management Working Group. The group held a highly successful event in Dublin last May and will continue to be a key strategic partnership for energy policy making in Ireland. Secondly, we do not realise the full potential of energy efficiency without policy making across government. The Warmth and Wellbeing Scheme has got off the ground because of a joint policy initiative between myself as the Minister for Energy and my colleague, the Minister for Health. In the business community, we're seeing an increasing value being placed on energy efficiency to fulfil resource efficiency criteria necessary to attract large-scale investment. This is now fast becoming a key issue for policy on foreign direct investment in flagship projects like the Dublin Docklands, the heart of ICT in Europe. Since 2009, the public sector in Ireland has improved energy efficiency by 21%. This is public money that can be put to better use on frontline services while demonstrating the potential of energy efficiency to citizens and driving the market for clean energy services. Therefore, it is vital, as energy policy leaders, we give our colleagues in government the evidence they need to embed energy efficiency in their policy areas. In Ireland, we very much value the work of the IEA in helping us to develop the systems and best practice to do this. And we're going to strengthen our partnership with the IEA by making an additional voluntary contribution to further this work. If more member nations are prepared to join this research, I believe that we can produce world-class evidence that can shape public policy around the globe. And we have so much in common. Just like my Moroccan colleague, we spend €500,000 every single hour on imported fossil fuels in Ireland. We are two energy islands on the Atlantic coast. I think that we can learn and save together, as many more countries in the IEA can do. Thirdly, we are all only too well aware of the challenges in motivating action on climate change. This is why I feel, aligned with our action on climate change, we need to place much greater emphasis on the need to improve air quality as a very tangible health and the other benefits that can be delivered directly from energy efficiency. Indeed, cleaner air and better public health is one of the main drivers for action on climate change in countries like India and China. At the second Global Climate Health Conference last year, Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the UN, said, "Clean energy policies reduce air pollution, human health and the environment both win." This is a strong public health and environmental message. That is why air quality is central to Ireland's energy efficiency programme. For example, our new deep renovation pilot scheme would support not only deep energy efficiency measures for homes, but also switching from fossil fuels to low-carbon heating systems. We know that energy efficiency is the first step on the path to safeguarding the environment for future generations. This is why I am so pleased to see agreement reached on the EU Energy Efficiency Directive earlier this week. In particular, the retention of the 30% target, which Ireland has consistently supported. In conclusion, realising the potential of energy efficiency to be a central action in climate change and clean air is all about leadership. It's also about making a real difference to people's lives. I believe by all of us working together, ministers across government and the energy community across the globe, we can deliver that real difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Mr. Minister, you said very, very wisely, energy is a neighbor of economic growth. Definitely, if we use the right energy, use it efficiently, it's a very good neighbor, I should say. And therefore, energy is a driver of economic growth, better lives, more comfortable lives, and better social lives. Therefore, we, as the IEA, we believe energy is a good thing, but we have to choose how to use the energy the best way. We have no problem with energy, we have problem with emissions. So these are two different issues. And I would like to thank you also very much, Mr. Minister, for the continuous support of the Irish government for our clean energy agenda. Now, these are excellent keynote speakers we heard from the ministers and the leading CEO, and heard excellent perspectives in different parts of the world, which were very inspiring and which were very much in line with the general topic of the meeting, delivery. And we have seen it in all these countries. We see deliveries happening. And the very first speech of the President of the United Nations General Assembly put everything in a global context and highlighted the global challenges we have and also some very important achievements we have underway. Now, we have a special address now. This special address comes from a country who is, if I may say so, going through a special time, namely Argentina, and there are major reforms now taking place in this very country in Latin America. Argentina, on one hand, trying to make most out of its domestic resources, including shale gas. At the same time, using energy more efficiently and in a clean way, and boosting the much-needed economic growth. On top of that, Argentina next year will be the president of G20, an extremely influential forum. After the excellent presidency of China last year, Germany this year, the energy community has high expectations from Argentina's presidency. International Energy Agency has been working with starting with the Turkish presidency, followed by the Chinese, German presidency, and now we are ready to support the Argentinian government for the next year's G20 presidency. So therefore, it's a great privilege for us to have the Argentinian minister to tell us about Argentina and some of the thoughts, maybe preliminary thoughts, about the Argentinian presidency for the G20. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, to be with us today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Fatih Birol for inviting us to address this very special audience. As Fatih has said, next year Argentina will be honored to conduct the G20 presidency, whose Energy Sustainability Group has been following up key topics on the international agenda on energy matters. Energy efficiency will be one of the top priority topics of our presidency. In December 2015, when we took office, the Undersecretary of Savings and Energy Efficiency was created and included in the organizational chart of the Ministry of Energy and Mining. It is the first time that our country has an office specially dedicated to this matter, and it is the first signal indicating that energy efficiency is part of the government's agenda. In the last 18 months, the Undersecretary of Savings and Energy Efficiency developed several programs for the different demand sectors, such as the residential, industrial, transport, and public sectors. The first natural balance on useful energy will be issued as a tool to develop better public policies on energy efficiency. The residential sector will be the first target. For this purpose, we have just signed an agreement with the National Statistics Bureau in order to consider different aspects of energy use and consumption in the National Survey on Household Expenditures that will be carried out by the end of this year. During 2018, the national balances on useful energy for industrial and transport sectors will be developed with the technical cooperation of the European Union. Moreover, we are working on the establishment of energy efficiency indicators which will allow us to keep better track of the implementation of the different policies in this matter. We are analyzing the proposal made by ICLAC to provide input for the Energy Efficiency Indicators Database Program, which will facilitate the comparison with other countries in the region. Considering the topics of energy saving and efficiency requires to aim for a cultural change as regards energy consumption. For this reason, different programs are being developed with the aim of including these two concepts in formal education. We are working on the training of primary and secondary teachers and trainers for future teachers in the incorporation of this topic in higher education, mainly in engineering and architecture careers, and complementary technical education for energy managers on the public sector by means of postgraduate course on energy management. We believe that the incorporation of energy efficiency in formal education programs is the pathway to achieve the cultural change that we need and to definitely make this matter a state policy so that it can endure over the long term. Cooperation with other countries is a key strategy for Argentina as well. For that reason, we have become members of IPIC. We are also analyzing the possibility of joining other initiatives within the framework of Clean Energy Ministerial in order to work together with the other member countries and to be able to benefit from the experience from those members that have been taking the lead on the matter for a long time. Argentina is deeply committed with the goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Let me remind to all of us that the targets of Goal 7, affordable and clean energy, are to ensure universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy services, to sustainably increase the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix, to double the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency. I will repeat, to double the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency, to enhance international cooperation in order to facilitate access to clean energy research and technology, including renewable energy and energy efficiency. Each country designs its own sustainable energy development strategy according to its own capabilities and its own national circumstances, and it establishes the appropriate policies to be fulfilled. Therefore, there are some countries which will prioritize certain technology in order to increase the share of renewables, and which will prefer other countries to invest in certain infrastructure according to their own national circumstances. However, we should all strengthen our energy efficiency policies if we wish to double the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency. Hence, once Argentina takes the G20 presidency, we will propose to continue with the implementation of the energy efficiency leading program approved during the Chinese presidency. For this purpose, we require the valuable collaboration of international organizations such as the International Energy Agency and IPIC in order to reflect the progress made on the different topics of the program, such as vehicles, interconnected equipment, buildings, energy efficiency financing, industrial processes, highly efficient power generation, the super efficient equipment and appliances deployment initiative, top 10 energy efficiency measures, among others. As an emerging country, Argentina has experienced many difficulties in accessing the international capital markets in the past few years. For this reason, we will continue to work on the strengthening of the G20 Energy Efficiency Investment Toolkit, which has been developed by the Energy Efficiency Finance Task Group together with the 15 countries of the G20, coordinated by France and Mexico. Argentina joined such group in 2016 and shared its experience on energy efficiency financing financing for small and medium countries. Additionally, we will please to continue the discussions and other initiatives that will help us to enhance the energy efficiency standards. The German G20 presidency has come up with the idea of improving the coordination among different energy efficiency agencies and bodies by means of the Energy Efficiency Hub, an initiative that was also referred to by Fatih Birol early in the morning. Additionally, within the framework of our presidency, we will continue to encourage the organization of the G20 Energy Efficiency Forum, which has been carried out during the Chinese and the German presidencies. We believe that these kind of meetings are really helpful to share the progress made by the different organizations, companies, and think tanks, and they allow the interaction with the policymakers to share experiences on different programs and technologies that help us increase the progress of the national energy efficiency policies. In order to continue with all these initiatives, it will be necessary to embrace the coordinated work with IPIC, IEA, and the International Energy Forum, and with other international organizations interested in the matter. It will be highly important for Argentina to create a big consensus based on these and other topics which will be fostered during our G20 presidency. One of the key pillars of the energy transformation that we are facing in Argentina is to strengthen the energy savings and the energy efficiency. Therefore, it will be our duty and our challenge to continue strengthening the global energy efficiency from the G20 presidency next year. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Minister Arangurian. This is the music to our ears that the Argentinian government will continue to push the energy efficiency agenda in G20 after China and this year Germany. And as I said before, we are very happy to support, together with help of the other organizations, the Argentinian government for this very important mission. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am sure, like me, you were delighted to hear so many top decision makers from different parts of the world and the men at the helm of the United Nations General Assembly. And I would like to ask you once again show our appreciation for our speakers. Thank you very much, sir. So we are now ready for a coffee outside, where we will come back at 11:30 sharp. Thank you.